What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Redline Revs. What we're going to be doing in this episode is taking a look at polyurethane suspension bushes. In particular, it's the Powerflex brand, which is a very popular manufacturer of poly bushes that we'll be looking at. I'm going to be fitting these onto my car. It's a Mark I SEAT Leon from 2004. It's a Cupra R, and I'll be driving 3,000 miles from London all the way to Germany and then back. And when I get back, I'll be giving you an assessment of how I think these are and whether it's worth it. But before we do anything else, there's a big debate in the kind of motoring enthusiast community about poly bushes. On the one hand, you have the pro poly bush camp who say that these are harder than the OEM rubber bushes, and that results in much tighter and sharper handling, that they're more durable, and that they don't wear as easily as OEM bushes. On the other side, there's a lot of people who complain about too much noise, vibration, and harshness resulting from installing poly bushes. A lot of people say that they're not fit for road use, and that they're only really for the track. And there's also lots of stories about people fitting poly bushes and then going back to standard bushes. Lastly, I think another downside to poly bushes is that they're more expensive, so it can cost up to 3 times or even more to replace a standard OEM bush with a poly bush rather than another rubber OEM bush. Okay, so that's kind of the debate, and we're going to settle that once and for all. Anything that we do find will apply only to the Powerflex, which is what we're using here. So here we've got a full kit of Powerflex bushes. We're going to be installing everything except for the rear beam bush and except for the front strut top mount bushes. So what we will be changing is the anti-roll bar bushes, the wishbone bushes, the subframe bushes, and the dog bone bushes, the front and back dog bone bush. Oh, and also the steering rack bush will be changing as well. So there, we've got 2 bushes there that make up one, and you've got these metal rods as well that go between them, and you get also a little bit of grease in every pack, but you really don't get enough, so you're going to need lots of grease. If you do this job, it can be a tricky job. Getting some of the old bushes out can be annoying and frustrating, and getting some of the new ones in can be difficult as well. So because I've got a lot of these to do here and I don't have the kind of time I used to have, I'm getting garage to do this work. Now, if you were going to change just one, what I would recommend would be this. This is the engine dog bone mount. And even though it's a petrol car, we've gone for the diesel one. The reason for that is that it's made out of a slightly softer material, the red diesel one rather than the yellow petrol ones. It's made out of a softer material, and it leads to less vibrations in the cabin. So a lot of people with petrol cars are actually using the diesel dog bone mount on their vehicles. Right, so yeah, again, like I said, this is going on a Mark I Cupra R, but this, what we learned from this could apply to any vehicle that you're considering polybushing. I drove all the way from London to Birmingham to Almot Motors to get the Powerflex bushes put on my Cupra R. These guys are fantastic. They do everything. They do brakes, turbo reconditioning, transmissions, engine transplants, literally everything. I really struggled to find a garage that wanted to do the job. A lot of them were turning me away, saying it's too big a job, and a lot of them were quoting me very silly quotes. But these guys, the owner himself actually has Powerflex on one of his cars. They've got great technical knowledge. He said, yeah, bring it in, and they gave me a very, very reasonable quote for the work as well. So it really was worth the drive up from London. Okay, changing the wishbone bushes front, the rear one as well. Subframe bushes, both sides. Dog bone bush there. And then coming up the back, got the rear beam bushes there as well. Which we won't be doing today, but we will do another time. That's the Powerflex bushes on the anti-roll bar. Subframe and wishbones off, so the bushes can be pressed out of those and new ones put in. Now even with the press, these bushes, some of them were really difficult to get out and really fiddly to get the new ones in as well. But with some perseverance we managed to do it all. That's the dog bone mount with the front and rear Powerflex bushes in. That's the wishbones blinged out with the purple Powerflex bushes. Looks nice. Old stone rack bush. Very weak. Deteriorated over time. Anti-roll bar was moving about as well. It's the old dog bone bush. Here you can see the Powerflex bushes installed on the wishbone. Look quite nice and purple. And there you can just about see the purple anti-roll bar bush as well. Okay, so it's been 3 weeks now since I've had the Powerflex bushes installed on the car, and I've covered a lot of mileage and done a lot of varied driving in that period. In the first of those weeks, I drove to work 70 miles a day, mainly motorway miles, 5 days in that week. And the second and third weeks, I drove from London to Germany, around Germany, and then back to London, covering 3,000 miles in 2 weeks. So I've had plenty of time now to assess these bushes. And the first thing I want to address is those concerns over noise, vibration, and harshness. I'm happy to say that this has not been an issue for me. On the first day, there was a time where I was sitting at the lights in idle and the whole cabin vibrated. I was concerned about that for a moment. It was an annoying sound and feeling, but luckily that only happened once and it never happened again. I did also notice on the first day or two there was a little bit of squeaking coming from some of the bushes, but again this disappeared in a matter of days as well. So that stuff has really not been an issue for me. I've got a baby in the car quite often. My wife travels with me. Neither of them have complained about the bushes at all, so they're pretty much silent once they've bedded in, and to bed in they only take a matter of days or 1,000 miles or so. Now, I should add a few caveats to that, which is, if you remember, I used the red diesel dog bone bush, which is softer than the yellow petrol one. You might get a little bit more vibration with the yellow one, but retrospectively, I think if I'd fitted the yellows, they would have bedded in, and any vibration would have by now disappeared. I don't have the front strut top mounts done, and I haven't put in the rear beam bushes, so that's another thing to bear in mind. But if you subscribe to the channel, I will be putting those on, and I'll be assessing those, and that will be coming. In terms of how the car handles, from the moment they were installed, everything felt tighter. Just before I went to Germany, I did an alignment, I got the tracking done. Car turns in well, feels tight, it's not too crashy over potholes or anything like that. In fact, it feels a lot better. While in Germany, I drove on the Autobahn up to 140 miles per hour or 230 kilometers per hour or so. And I was really surprised with how stable everything felt. It really gave me a lot of confidence at those speeds. Yeah, so that was really good. I would recommend looking at Powerflex if you have to change any of your bushes. If it's an individual bush, like a steering rack or anti-roll bar bush that's deteriorated or whatever, I would suggest that you just upgrade that to Powerflex if you're just doing the one thing. When it comes to the wishbone bushes, If you're having to replace any of the wishbone bushes and you're going for Powerflex, I would say replace both the front and the rear wishbone bushes on both sides in one go, so you're not having to come back in future and take the wishbones off again and do the job twice. Doing the whole car in one go can be a big job, and you should maybe do that only if budget isn't so much of a concern, or if you have all of the tools and equipment and time to be able to do it yourself. Otherwise, I'd say change them as they deteriorate or crack, with the exception of the wishbones or anything that's got more than one bush on it. Change, both bushes if any one of them is gone. So overall, yeah, Powerflex is a worthwhile mod. It can be a big job to do it all in one go. I'm glad that I got help doing it from the guys at Almot Motors. They were brilliant. And I think if these are installed properly, then you shouldn't have any issues. I'm actually kind of surprised at the scare stories that I've read on so many forums and websites about Powerflex. For me, they've worked out really well. So this is Redline Revs. If you found this useful, make sure you comment, make sure you rate, make sure you subscribe, because there will be a lot more coming up.